business, man. I'm a business, man. Now let me handle my business.
Back again. What's poppin'? What's happening? How we feeling?
What's up?
Got my water.
Yeah.
Yo, so we back again. I'm a Businessman podcast, season 2, episode 2. We rolling, we going. We got some special guests today. Myself, Nevell, Provo, and the man himself, Corvell Beals.
Very special guest today, man. Very special guest.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shout out to yourself. You got to make sure
Gotta
you
love yourself, man.
man.
Gotta love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Today's conversation, a conversation that we have a lot amongst ourselves, something that we really been tapping into and we really want to break down. And it's really, looking at the culture and the things we value, some not always the best, and looking at why that is, how to change that, and what does that mean going forward. And secondly, looking at, making the transition from the streets, from the lives that we live into the business world, and how does that look? We're gonna jump into that. We're gonna tap in, like always. Subscribe, comment. If you got any questions, holler at us. We always here to chat.
Maybe even before we do that, I think it's important for people to understand like why this conversation is so important.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at Black Canadians and Black Americans, really Black people, the reality is a lot of our people are involved in street activity.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them,
Yep.
you know what I mean, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
You go through 10, 15 households, some kids right now that they are exposed to those forms of earning.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think it's really important to understand, to have that conversation, to not run from it. And, not only that, but giving people outlets and opportunities and understanding of really how to do it. So, I guess I'm saying that because not all of our listeners are suit and tie people.
Yeah.
Some of them probably trapping right now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so, this conversation is really for them, but even for other people too, to understand that this is a reality, and here's how they transition, and they might need you to give them that opportunity. So, that I think it's just important for people to understand that part of the conversation.
No, I mean it's a huge part of our community, our culture, right? I don't think it's no hiding. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Obviously, we got a lot of other things going on, but that exists. And even if you aren't in that, and then, we'll tap into that. I think there's always a pull, and that's just what we value. And
right.
I think we got to really change that piece, right? So, we'll jump into it. I first wanted to kind of get a history from you about, who you are, and what does, your life and your perspective coming from that side of the fence. Kind of give us whatever you can on that side of life.
I mean, I try to live my life an open book. You know what I mean? If I'm ashamed of it, I shouldn't have never done it.
Yeah.
Or if I'm ashamed of it, I shouldn't do it. Or, if the decisions and choices that you make, it was what makes you who you are. This is who I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? These things are a part of me. So, with that being said, I used to sell drugs, right? 100% sold drugs, any drug available. You know what I mean? I ain't really had no limitations to what drugs I would or wouldn't sell, right? I would sell drugs, right? I was involved in, the sex trade, involved in that shit, with strippers and all that stuff. I played a role in that. I did some fraud, you know what I mean? I dibbled and dabbled in fraudulent activity, whether it be, checks or flights or whatever the case may be. I participated in a lot of different shit, and involved in the streets, right? In terms of, my biggest successes in the streets would have been involved in the drug trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and I ain't gonna be how much money I made in the streets and all that shit.
We don't gotta get into all
right?
that.
But I had some successes, right? I had some successes in the streets. Not my biggest successes though. I want to make a note to say that, because I think it's important for people to understand, especially the little homies that's out here. My biggest ups were not street activity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My biggest ups was real estate plays. My biggest ups was, $500,000 in a year was smooth meal prep. You know what I'm saying? So my biggest ups wasn't in the streets, but that's
and that's important. And you made a good piece around this conversation is for the little homies because
Mm-hmm.
we tap in with the little homies. We hear the conversations. We see where their mind's at. And yeah, a lot of us in 2021, and we'll get into it, are still in those places and still pulled by, by whatever those things are, and that's what we want to dig into from the streets, right? So like you said, not hiding from that story, that part of me exists. Like I was that, I could be a part of that, but I'm still over here and still making my life happen and in this piece, right? So my next kind of question, just to keep digging in a bit. Growing up, you were a good student, straight A student for most of your life. You could have been a lawyer, whatever the hell you wanted to be in that area of life. Why do you think you didn't go there, and then the streets kind of pulled you in? Let's touch there a bit.
Environment, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up in the 90s in North Preston. I grew up in the 90s in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Right? I grew up in the 90s in Black North America.
Culture, sure.
You know what I'm saying? So when I look on television, every representation of people like me, the things that I was seeing and glorify was street activities, like, and on my doorstep, like in my close realm of world, all the successful people, and I say this shit all the time, all the successful people that I was seeing, that I was around and my eyes could visually see and touch and feel were pimps or drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally what I was seeing. So, like, when I'm in school and learning and going through shit, and as I'm getting older and I want to get money and I'm starting to learn how people are making money, I ain't had no examples of people who were involved in legal activity making lots of money. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the simplest answer for that. Right?
That's real. For me, as an athlete, my journey, it was a similar way. Straight A student. I played ball. I played high level ball. I played Division I. I played Team Canada. All that stuff. If you know my story, but even in that, I still was a part of that environment. So I remember being 12 and 13, and I'm playing ball. I'm doing sports, but I can't go ask mom for $120 every other weekend to buy Air Forces. But I'm seeing my buddies, they got Air Forces, and we going to parties, they can buy friggin' McDonald's, and they can go to the mall and buy a fitted hat, and I wasn't poor, right? Mom would give me whatever, or I had big brothers but at the same time too, I didn't have the freedom to do it when I wanted to do it, and my homies did, and fuck, what the hell you guys do? I'm with you guys mostly every other day, and sometimes I'm not with you, but you don't got a job.
Well, when you're at sports,
exactly.
What are you doing when I'm at sports?
And
you know what I mean?
in turn, what they were doing when I'm at sports, they selling a little weed, they got a little e-pills, whatever's happening. So I start doing my math. Well, I want those things, right? And that's how they got them. There was no other avenues of ways that I seen how that could happen. So it's like, well, shit, let me figure that out, right? So trying whatever. I remember like one day I got like some weed, but it wasn't me. Like it didn't. My brain didn't work that way. I didn't have that wasn't me, right? And I quickly realized that and didn't go there. But I say that to say, even a guy like myself that you would think super straight path, all this, that environment still existed. And to go even further, we've always had this conversation. As I got older, I'm now I'm now playing Division I ball and at a premier academic university and playing for Team Canada and NBA dreams and all this. But at the end of the day, I got $300 in my bank account. Right, my food's paid for, my housing's paid for, my living's paid for. But I still gotta call mom or call one of you guys to get me a flight home. Right. So that challenge and at the same time, still, I'm seeing the homies, my age, my shit. They're doing their thing. They in the streets. Niggas got cars, chains. They doing the most. So the math and the adding, well, frig, man, I'm getting more girls than these guys. I'm a cooler nigga than these guys. Well, shit, let me figure that out. Right. And again, this is me at 20, however old, 19, 20, having the streets paved of gold. But still being lured in, still being close to making that decisions. But it took for me to have big brothers that were in that and fully in it to, okay, now hold on. We're going to check that at the door. Here's what really happens here. Here's what it really looks like. Here's what you're really giving up. And thank God for that. But again, I give that example to say if that didn't exist, you know, I'm right there. I'm right in there, right?
Railroad,
right? I'm right in that, right? So, you know, my next kind of piece around that, why do you think, we mentioned the environment, why do you think that exists? Why do we see that?
When you talk about the culture?
Even
culture,
before,
the environment?
You know, what is it about the environment? Let's dig more into the environment and kind of how that role plays, how that plays a role.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, you know, the environment is because there's limited resources. You know what I mean? Like we talk about this shit like all the time. Like this probably ain't even the first. Like if you go back to last season, we might say the same shit. But you know, there's limited resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's literally limited resources. There's not abundance of resources in these, you know, black neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Period.
Yeah.
Right? So you put in a limited amount of water with a bunch of thirsty people. Right? And so in order to fill that bottle of water up, like there's other opportunities. There's other things that you can do to help add to your glass of water so that you don't have to be thirsty. So I think, you know, I guess that's really the main ingredient for the environment, like to starve it of its resources and dangle, you know, a little bit of, I guess, money in their faces in these forms. You know what I mean? So I think like that's just the simplest way for me to put it is like there's just limited resources and in order to create, the only way we're seeing opportunities to create is in these forms of life, right? So that's really
and that's key.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, you know, that we can trace the history back. Systemic racism, red tape, you know, not being able to get jobs, right? It didn't. I think oftentimes it gets demonized and stigmatized. Like, oh man, like those people are bad,
right?
And, you know, they're inherently bad and they're making bad decisions because they're bad people. Like, nah, like this was a means of survival. Yeah. Right. There was no other opportunities. So okay, you know, niggas didn't just wake up and be like, all right, like I'm talking like in the 70s or 60s, whenever.
Right.
That's just like. Yeah, we're gonna sell crack because we just think it's bad, and we're just gonna do it for fun, or we're gonna take girls away, and we're gonna figure that out. Yeah, no, it was like wasn't no jobs, wasn't no the steel mills wasn't hiring. Yeah, you couldn't get to university. The opportunities were limited, so we had to take that as a means of survival.
And that shit was hard.
Straight,
like, and not only was that shit hard, but like. The system made it harder.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I think like it's a little bit of both. Like, and I ain't really trying to be like, I'm not here to be super conscious, like woke person and all that shit. Like, yeah, I understand what's going on in the world, but like the reality is like that shit was hard and the system made it harder. Period.
It's like if you look at Somalia.
Right.
They're known for being pirates.
Right.
It wasn't like, yeah, we're going to just rob these boats for fun. It's like, nah, they had no other. Matter of fact, there's
limited resources on our land.
Matter of fact, people
there in the
came
water.
on our land and stole our. We were fishermen first,
right?
But you came and you stole our fish and you took everything from us. Okay, so now we got nothing. But now you cruising by us with the fish that you took from us and
go and sell them for big bucks.
And you come by for leisure in these big cruise ships. It's like, nah, here, give me that.
Come off that.
All right, give me that. So you know, again. And I'm not being whatever apologetic or whatever it is we want to call it, but I think it's important to trace the history and why it exists to see how it perpetrates itself today. So you know that being the historic origins of it, when that gets passed down, now okay, for me growing up as a young man, all I seen the most successful niggas in the hood were pimps and drug dealers. There's no one else. They had the cars, they had the clothes. I put in one of my raps. Once the first time I ate the shrimp was with the pasta was from the hands of a pimp, not the pastor. Yeah. Right. So my first time to the keg was the homies that was in the streets buying me those meals. My first Air Forces. My first time in the club popping bottles. Every piece of success and every piece of the limelight that I seen and money came from that. I didn't see doctors. We didn't see lawyers. We didn't see nothing else but that. So okay, if that's all I see. that's all I can be.
And the other thing I add to that real quick is like the street people spend money.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's crazy because like now that I'm I'm getting older and I'm doing different shit and I'm understanding the value of my money and all that. I don't spend the money that I used to spend, but like street people spend money. You know what I'm saying? So like if we talking about like, you know, the reason why like certain other people maybe not, you know, just going out and making it rain all over the streets is because they value their money because they work a little bit harder for it. So I think it's like it's a real weird vortex because like there's limited resources. You dangle the money, we go get the money, but then we spend the money because we feel like this makes us feel rich.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we don't value money, so we spend it. And so guess what it does? The next generation, they think that these are the best, coolest, greatest people because they're spending their money. It looks like they're rich. Like, you know what I mean? So I think.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a huge point. I think, you know, the piece of the spending the money, I think, one, it might come a little easier in the streets in some cases. There's a lot more on the back end.
Yeah,
that's harder and you know, shit's harder. But I think, you know, and again, I think it's the value and the understanding of money. But I agree that piece around, you know, the money spent more in it. You know, the street niggas I realized they not even they're not the richest or the people with the money. And you even dig in more, it's like a lot of niggas don't even got money.
No,
spending money they don't even got.
Straight.
Right? So, you know, that was a real a lesson. I think that was what really kind of steered me away because I was really close and my brothers is in the street. So I'm really seeing, okay, who got it, who really don't got it, what it's really like, what it really ain't like. So that clear distinction made it clear, like, nah, that's the investment banker I made, he's really making money. Right. He really got it. And this is a different game here, right?
Yeah, no, straight.
Yeah,
definitely.
The next piece I kind of got, you know, we made a key distinction of growing up, seeing that what I can see is what is who I will be, right? And we really make it clear. I think we'll tap into that around why we're so visible, why we do the podcast, why I'm on fucking TikTok now, right? Why we got to be visible to see that part. But before I even get there, you know, what role do you think music in the culture, because I'm always talking about music, what do you think music kind of plays in this whole phenomenon of street culture? And I think even now it's gone even further into 100%. A different place, right?
You know, it's funny you say that because, like, one of the homies, me and him were just talking, you know, not too long ago. He know who he is. I ain't going to say his name on the podcast because he got some things that he got going on that I really hope that he make it through.
Sure.
I believe that he make it through. I'm hopeful that he make it through. He said the microphone is the biggest weapon in the black community.
Sure.
He said in the 60s and the 50s and all that shit, we had Martin Luther King with the microphone. We had Malcolm X with the microphone, Marcus Garvey with the microphone, all these people. And so, like, you know, the system understands how we react to the ear.
Straight.
You know what I mean? And how we react to the visual. Like they learned that our brains, we react to those things. Well, everybody does, but we really react to it.
Yeah.
And so they took the microphone and they, you know, they seen how powerful it was. They're like, oh shit, let me give it to this person. You know what I mean? Like the biggest people in the black community were always had the mic in their hand.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like you think about like then the next era, then like they boom, and then now NWA and all these dudes getting, and then they seen how that turned the people. You know what I mean? Like now, oh shit, they gangsters because these people are gangsters. So if you fast forward to 2020, 2021, if you look at the main artists, the main people that have microphones, the main people on stages, the main people on television that represent our culture.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's major, and that's a shout out to homie for that.
Yeah.
You know, because I've never took it to that level, but that makes so much sense. And I think, you know, one, I'd always like to track the history. And, you know, as we were Africans, right? You know, we relate to music, we relate
sound
to
and
audio,
drums.
and we're rhythmic. You know, you put a black person down a song, and they're probably going to dance naturally. The kids, they know how to rhyme and rhythm. But, you know, before then, you know, when you think to the 50s and 60s, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, them having the microphone, you look at the way the people dressed.
Right.
Niggas was walking around in suits. You know what I'm saying? That's how they dressed. Suits.
Yeah.
They were walking around in suits. And you look at now, Lil Durk got the microphone, Lil Baby got the microphone. Niggas is wearing V-Lone and
that new mask.
You know what I'm saying?
The ski mask. Like that one's like, crazy.
They ain't even know these designers or even know where this comes from, but they want to dress and talk and say the words and all that.
Yeah.
Right. So that piece is huge.
What I see is who I be.
Exactly.
Be, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's it.
Exactly. So like you said, I think that and even to go further, to really prove that theory. Okay, you go to the 80s, the Jam Master J's, right? It's funk and people dancing. LL Cool J, they wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Then the 90s, we go R&B.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of babies. I'm sure if you look at the black demographics, there's probably a baby boom in the 90s. All the Honey
boom.
Loves and all them songs coming out that was hitting it. Okay, then you NWAs they were before, but you go to the 2000s, just lean with it, rock with it. We got Big T's, we all that. We in the clubs dancing, then we go to Lil Jon. Now we in the clubs fighting, and
then drugs like the Molly era, the pop and pill era.
Yeah,
like,
so that comes in. That comes in. That's like Gucci Man or them kind of guys, right? And it's like it's cool to
whoever
do
has the mic,
right,
is who's driving the culture.
You know what I'm saying? It's weed. We go from weed to lean to Molly, and okay, now the music is perks. Niggas is on perks.
Perks and depression.
Perks depression and killing niggas. Perks depression and body and doubling back. I was in the studio with the little homies last night. Niggas talking about circling the block. I'm like, what block is you circling? We don't even got a circle, right? So that kind of shit where it's like the music really pushes the shit, and that we big Nipsey guys, and I think that was a huge hit, man. Like I was thinking the other day, like I don't listen to his music. Like I can't. Like I go listen, but I'm not listening to his albums because his microphone ended here. Yeah. So he's still rapping in 2018 or whatever the album is at. Yeah. But I'm in 2021 and the world has changed a whole lot since then. So his messages still resonate, but 2018 Nipsey wouldn't been able to spit like 2021 Nipsey.
I gotta dig into the message.
Yeah, I gotta dig in a bit more.
It ain't just jumping out at me. Exactly. Because it's not current. It's not right now, right?
Exactly.
They took his mic away.
Straight. Right.
You know
So that music piece I think is huge, and it's a big part of me. I'm very cautious of who I consume, right? Because you're consuming what podcasts I'm listening to, what music I'm listening to. I'm not just listening to anything, and if I am, I'm listening to it knowing that I'm just listening to this for whatever reason I'm listening to it. But I'm not letting those messages resonate. And I think that's a real piece that we got to pay attention to is that music for sure. And the next kind of piece, we talk about this often. We spoke a bit about young guys. We see a lot of the young little homies now. All the opportunity in the world. In 2021, you can make a TikTok page, you can make a YouTube channel, you can code, you can, the doors is open. Matter of fact, they calling for young blacks to do, and you could do whatever you want to do. Yeah. Yet, we're still seeing little homies, and it'd be mind-boggling to me. And not only are there opportunities, these little homies got opportunities. Their parents work good jobs, and they had scholarships and opportunities on the line, but yet we're still getting sucked into this vortex. What do you think's happening there? What do you think? And when I say the vortex, I'm talking the streets. What do you think is what do you think? What is your thoughts there around that? Why that still exists?
I think because the streets can give you an identity. You know what I mean? Like when you I'll use my personal self, but then I'll kind of tie it in. When I'm coming through and I'm the smart kid in school. And, I can count good and read good and I can speak proper and all these things. The people identified me as something that maybe I didn't value because, nobody else valued it. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of a diss. And so one thing that I think in especially in 2021 that like, everybody in the black community, even though we don't say it and we may not even like it, but one of the things that we all kind of take notice of is, the baddest. Like I guess I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody takes notice of the baddest guy.
The most violent.
You know what I mean? The most violent. Like it gives a level of respect. Someone. You know what I mean? It's like people kind of like it's. Like fuck, you recognize them, right?
Even, let me jump there. Even me, even in my what I like to think developed mind. And, okay, certain rappers, Mozzie, I listen to him and I can respect him because I can hear this nigga's ready to. He put in work. Yeah. he's that guy. If
Yeah.
I won't listen to a rapper that, okay, he's soft.
Yeah.
Right. It's and I think that an internal piece is huge, and it's a part of the shit we're talking about.
Yeah.
The shit we value as
Yeah.
opposed to what we should. I value that.
Right.
Mozzie probably killed people before internally, and it's messed up, right? But go ahead.
Straight. And that's the thing. So it's just an identity. Like the streets give you an identity. When I was coming up, I remember I was that person. And then like when I started getting money in the streets and doing shit and stuff, people started knowing my name that didn't know me before, and it starts stroking your ego.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like it just, so now you want to feed it. So now I don't just want to sell 8 balls. Like I'm trying to take it up a level,
Right.
like, and I'm trying to feed that ego. And so, when you look at like these young homies today and shit, like, they see like the people that are being recognized, and they see the people that are kind of moving crowds and all that shit. And so like, I think the streets, the reason why it lures so many of our young men is because it gives them an identity, an easy identity, and it's like a foolproof one too. It's a fool's identity, but it's foolproof because the only way for you to check to see if my identity is real,
if it gotta come,
is if you bring that certain shit to me.
Yeah.
But majority of the times, it's like this dude is identity crisis, and I'm an identity crisis. So hopefully we don't ever really check each other and identity. But a lot of times, what you've been seeing is when that thing that happens, it's like now, okay, you're gonna really get to see, and what we all see is like they all going through identity crisis.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the
that's
things.
a huge point, and I think that identity piece is real. And again, if we look at history, it comes from a need.
Yeah.
We go to the 70s, I had nothing else. Then it comes from they did it, we doing it.
Yeah.
And now I think it's the identity piece, because I'd be like, little niggas I went to school with, or little niggas that were below me, you guys were scared to fight in school. You guys would go home and tell your mom when something happened. You would tell the teacher when the teacher's pressing us about who threw the rocks. Yeah. Right? You were the scared guys. Now it's like, your identity
is that you're this other thing.
Now you're this guy. And it's like,
right?
I know you to not be that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we see that across the board. But I do believe as the culture is shifting from, like I said, from need to we seen that to now this is identity. Right. And in the next piece, what I was saying is, okay, that's the value piece. Right. So to the little homies, right? So we talk about a lot, like niggas at 17, 20, we barely even spend any time with. We still spend time. It was still a little homie. We still here to rock with you, protect you, whatever need, but your mind's kind of made up. Yeah. Right. You kind of built that identity. But to these little homies, okay, we're gonna show them to value. Here's what should be valued. Right. And I think we make it a big piece, and I know you do. I know I do. Sometimes I just spin through the hood just for fun. I live in town now, but I spin through the hood just to show my face. Straight. And I'll come with $100 and here, just to show. Yeah. And I might not even have $100 that day, but I got to do that piece because I know those moments that were created for me. Yeah. Here's who they were created by.
It's manufacturing. Straight. You know what I mean? So like, when you're coming through, like the people that were doing it, they were doing it just out of love. You know what I mean? Like, and I ain't saying I ain't doing it out of love. No, for sure. But I understood what it did to me.
I'm doing it out of even more love because exactly.
It's like I'm trying to foresee the love. Straight. I don't believe that the people that were before me intended for me to walk these roads the way that I did. I think that they were just doing it out of love. Like shit, like they got here $20.
Exactly.
Here go $20. Here go $100. They ain't know what they were doing. They ain't know that they were brainwashing me to want to be like them, to want to be, you know what I mean? Like when you think about like in the States and Harlem and all that shit, like Bumpy Johnson and all, like he ain't know what he was doing when he was
giving turkeys to everybody,
doing all that shit, because he ain't see the little homie that was just in the crib with the mom that was crying. You know what I mean? And then he looked at it like, man, this man fed me. This man become a god to me. So like, I think that now it's like, because I know what that did to me. When I do it, I want to not only do it for you, but I want to, when you tap in, naturally, I want you to know, like, man, this guy did this. This how he getting money. This is what he doing in his life. So I think just that it's manufacturing those moments, like really, like being intentional. You know what I mean? Like that's really the biggest thing. Like, man, I'm intentional about the shit that I'm doing. Yeah. When I pull up, like I'm competing with me 10 years ago.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like the shit that I was doing 10 years ago for the people, like I'm competing with that person, but I'm doing it in a different light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess what I'm saying is I'm competing against all you homies that's out here still banging, still doing your shit, and still really plugging that poison into the streets, into the youth. You know what I mean? Like, and I ain't mad at you. I'm just saying like shit, like you got to identify like, you know, the demons that you representing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like.
And here's the reality. You know, I think people might take offense to that, and really, I don't even. If you take offense to that, that shows me who you are anyway, right? But we gotta understand the poison. Okay, fuck. Well, when we're sending little niggas down this path to the streets, to sell drugs, to do whatever, where are we sending them?
Yeah.
Jail.
Yeah. And early
losing
death,
their freedom, and,
early termination,
and caskets, where they can't see their family can't see them, and death before they reach their light. So, you know, it's important to manufacture and be intentional about that, and to fight that poison off, because, man, it's crazy. I had a conversation, like, you know, we don't hear about other communities, you know, like white communities. You know, you don't hear about kids in Bedford getting killed. Like, they might get in a car accident or something, but they're not getting killed. Like, every other, you know what I'm saying? Like the numbers aren't the same, right? And that goes from here to friggin' Atlanta, right? Around young black men losing their lives, over what are we really losing our lives for, right?
And I think, you know, it's crazy because a lot of people that might be listening to episode 2, like, you know, last week they were talking about business, like, in all the businesses they started. This week they talking about, you know, like street shit. And I think just for the listener to understand is, you know, in our lives, you know, none of the business matters if our community is still burning. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of that shit don't matter to me. You know what I mean? And being a black Canadian, like I don't care how successful I am. You know what I'm saying? But if I can't share my success with my people, if I can't like see some people that come after me like really, you know, elevate themselves from this lifestyle, if I can't see it, the numbers flip and we're getting 80, 90, 95%, 98% of our youth that are like participating in real life valuable things and not involved in the streets, if we can't do that, then none of this shit don't matter to me.
And to take it even further, the reason why the business exists, the reason why this podcast exists, the reason why we freaking wake up every morning and get to the bag is for that reason. Right? And, you know, we see entrepreneurship and business as, okay, it's one thing to say, no, don't go to the streets. Stay away from the streets. Okay, but then what? What do we do? So we see this is the, what did we call it before? We said, give you a carrot and here's a candy. Well, we took this away from you, but here's how you do it, and we're gonna tap into that. You know, how that transition happens, and why the transition makes sense. But that's a huge point. You know, the big reason for all of everything we do is to avoid that, to have less little homies losing their lives, more little homies starting businesses and creating jobs and building the community up.
And becoming functioning members of society.
You
know what I mean? Like, when I was in the streets, like, man, honestly, like, I did so much good shit, but like, when I left, I would go do some bad shit. And I used to feel this real, like, I didn't put my name on nothing. I was really like if you look at my, I don't know what you call it, but like, I ain't did my taxes for like years. And I remember I did my tax one year, like right before I started Thompson's, and I had got back like a bunch of GSTs. When people were getting I didn't even know what the hell GST was, because I was never doing taxes, because I was like, check days, I didn't want to even be on the radar. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it was like all that shit, like, you know, so we want to help our people become functioning members of society. You know what I mean? Like, we want our people to stop, you know, taking each other's lives, stop going down these roads. And the only way to do it is to be honest about it. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, give you other opportunities and options, right? So, you know,
No, straight. We kind of talked about why it existed, why we need to shift the culture. Let's chat a bit about how. How do you think? When we even talked a bit about that, how do we get it done? What does that look like of shifting those values, shifting little homies dying to little homies being
thriving,
thriving, exactly. Sorry, we always say homies. We're males, but young women,
young women too, yeah, for sure.
Maybe not.
They the
dying,
little
but
homies too.
Straight,
the little
straight.
like I see all of them as my little homies.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like when we look at our staff, like we kind of split down the middle. Like I see them as the little homies. So that represent everybody. Like that ain't just the males. That's everybody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't care what. Like it don't matter to me. You the little homie. You the little homie. Right? But to that question, how I'll say this. I don't have all the answers.
No.
I may not even have the answer. I listen to so many different people address these things. Like, and at the end of the day, like nobody has the one thing to do.
Nope.
I think it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. So I think it's going to take each and every person, not just black people, all people, to fight this, I guess, pandemic. You know what I mean? That's happening in the black communities across North America. But one of the things that I do think is going to help, fight that battle is entrepreneurship, business, putting different products and services into the communities and by the people that the community represents. I honestly believe that business is, a big solution to the streets.
Yep.
Like I believe, because the streets is business. It stems from business. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now it's like, let's take the crack and put apples. You know what I mean? Like let's take marijuana is legal. Well, shit, like marijuana might be the solution. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sure. Like real shit. Like, you know what I mean? I was gonna say businesses. like stop growing weed and start growing like real trees, but like shit, like maybe
can grow.
Right? Like let's just enterprise and legal. So I believe enterprise is gonna be like the foundation of the fight against street activity for black youth.
I'm gonna write that note because I want to come back to that. That weed, I think that's huge. Yeah. Find the plug, find the suppliers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Why weed? I agree. I think enterprise business, a lot of the work that we try to do in providing those jobs to youth, and that's where it starts for me anyway. Is the youth, right, and shifting their brains of what they think and what they value and what they see, what they feel they can do, where they want to be, because that'll be the future, right, and hopefully, we plant that seed in them. Now, when they're 20, they're rather than go down the street path, they done started a business, or they went to school and they done got a job or anything. Again, it's not all business. That's our vehicle. But they got a job. So now, the youngin' after him, he sees that they go kick each one, teach one, right? And as those seeds,
shout out to Wade Smith,
as those
peace, man,
seeds
forever.
keep planting and keep growing, we look 100 years from now and the streets is eradicated.
Yeah,
right?
And I guess I'm gonna tap in real quick because the job piece, and it's crazy because this shit just come to me, but like. The reason why we need more black entrepreneurs and business owners is because then they will hire more there will be more black jobs.
Exactly.
And, we sit all the time. Like, we be hiring people. And so, like, it's crazy how easy it is to get a job when, somebody understands you. They know your language. They speak your language. Like, if I was a Frenchman and 100 people came and 80 of them were Frenchmen and 20 of them were speaking Spanish, well, chances are the 80 would have a better chance than the 20. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that we ain't hiring white people or other people from different ethnicities. But what I'm saying is it's just easier when there's black business owners. Yeah. Black people can get more jobs.
Yeah, and to touch there, even more, we're at a disadvantage, right? Our education systems, everything. So, we got youth coming in. This is their first job. They never had parents that really taught them interview skills. Or they didn't go to schools where interview skills were taught. So they're coming in, their resumes, they barely got a resume, or they don't know how to interview. But
Texame.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, can I get a job?
Yeah.
Hey, can I come work with you?
Yeah.
Right? But if they're going to Sobeys or whoever else to do that, like, no, this guy, he's not serious. He's lazy. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to talk, whatever. But
he package ain't presenting.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's not presenting, but we can. Yeah. I know you from the way.
Yeah.
I know what you're capable of. I know your family. I know I can see you and communicate and speak with you. You're
Yeah.
comfortable to speak with me.
Yeah.
So that transition is just
Yeah.
a lot easier for you. And
Yeah.
let's create 30 more of us
Straight.
to go create 10 more jobs and have it
Well,
easier.
10 times 30 would be 300.
30 more, 10,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, 10 out of 30, 300 jobs.
Yeah.
And that shift really happens.
Black
right? So-
entrepreneurs will create black jobs, more
Straight.
black jobs.
Straight.
So for all you government people and all, like at the end of the day, create more black entrepreneurs. Figure out the recipe how you create entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Insert those resources into the black community. Pull out the ones that you can. And black, if you're trying to really solve black wealth or whatever the word is, black money, black entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And forget the government. To all the black people,
Straight.
that you're trying to look at, you're looking at life from a certain lens. Like, man, listen, like, if you see that little young person, or if you even see somebody that's a black entrepreneur, I ain't necessarily saying just buy their product or service because they're black, but maybe you have, I said this last week, maybe you have some skills. Maybe you're an accountant for like this big company, but you got some skills. Maybe reach out to them and be like, you know what, I regularly don't do this, but let me help you out with that. Or if you're a marketer, you're working over in a firm. Like if you got black skills, man, if you white person, you know what I mean? Like, and you really want to help the black movement, like reach out to black entrepreneurs, people that you see trying and lend your hand and give your services, because I think ultimately more black entrepreneurs are going to create more black jobs.
Yeah.
More black jobs are going to eliminate black crime.
Right.
The black crimes that we regularly involved in, drugs, pimping and guns. And at the end of the day, like that's just the way it goes. So I think, that's how I see the formula kind of playing out.
No, that's a good point. We're gonna not shift it, but take it to kind of the next piece we see, and we'll look to kind of grab as much as from that as possible. The transition from the streets to the business world. Talk a bit about that. First I'll say, why do you think that kind of needs to happen, or maybe not needs to happen, but what's the?
It does need to happen.
Yeah.
I think it does need to happen.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you're gonna say how.
How was coming next,
Yeah.
but the why, and then we'll get into the how, and then we'll get into those transferable skills.
Right.
If you was buying a brick, you was finding out how to bust a brick down.
Yeah.
Shit, here's how you can. If you was figuring out marketing, here's sample and whatever.
Right.
Here's how
shit.
this exists.
Yeah,
right.
no, straight. So I think why it's important that we make the transition from the streets to real world economics. Is because I think if we're trying to win, like if you're trying to win in life, right? Would you have a better chance of winning if you ran in? I don't know if you ever seen that picture when it's like it was the thing with the women.
The women.
Shout out to the women that are fighting for women rights.
Women that had the straight run.
Right, the man had the straight run, and then the women had the alligator and the hurdle and the lake and
Turn
the rock
right and go left.
turn all that shit. Like you got to go through all these different things, right? And so like you use that same analogy for street people. If you're trying to win in life, man, you got to go through the police. You got to go through like robbers. You got to go through people. The rules is different too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if some like real shit. If somebody like do us wrong in a deal, like or if they breach a contract, our lawyer is going to contact their lawyer or them or subpoena them to come.
I had this conversation with the little niggas. They wanted to go to the lake. You see on my snap, they asked for. I told them, okay, well, I'm gonna give you. Pay me $10. I'll take you to the lake.
Right.
So they didn't have $10. I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna go into a credit deal.
Yeah.
So I was filming them. We're going to sign a contract.
Right.
They said, why you sign the contract? He said, well, if you go against it,
straight,
then I'm going to have to go.
You're
need my money
legally
back,
binded
right?
to this contract.
So they said, what, you going to snitch on us? I said, and then one little homie said, no, it ain't snitching, it's business.
It's
I
business.
said, straight. This is different. This is a different world here.
It's a different set of rules.
It's a legal contract. My lawyer come holler at you. This is a different game. Those rules don't exist here, right?
Right. And so that's the part. That's big, like because. At the end of the day, like, man, like, you breached the contract. My lawyer's hollering at you. You show your ass up in court.
Straight.
I ain't even got to talk. The lawyer going to talk, and here's the paperwork that you sign. In the streets, it's all verbal agreements, and the number one rule is don't snitch.
That's right.
So you're literally that hurdle that we were talking about. That's one of the biggest hurdles ever. And then the next hurdle, you got the police, you got the jail time, you got, like I said, people trying to rob you, kill you, all that shit.
Whatever.
And the ways that you can respond are limited to violence, and so then you put yourself into another further situation. So I think at the end of the day, like for that and that alone, I think it makes way more sense to be in this world. Last point in terms that I'm gonna make in terms of why you should switch. It's just a bigger pool.
That's right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Like more opportunity.
There's just way more opportunity. So like, you know, if you are somebody that was able to climb the ranks in the streets, you know what I mean, and you were able to go up
in a limited game.
In a limited game.
3 or 4 things you can do.
Yeah, and like there's limited money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think like
the streets GDP is probably
it's a couple billion worldwide.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the world money GDP is fucking trillions.
Exactly.
Like you know what I mean? So I just think it's a limited game, and like what street people you know on Jeff Bezos level? You know what I mean? Like
don't exist.
It don't exist. So that's why I think, you know,
and if they even come close, they knocked
off before they get there. The biggest ever was Pablo.
Escobar.
You know what I mean? He had like 30 bills. Look, where's he at?
In the ground.
You know what I mean? So Askey family, was it worth it?
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest why.
Yeah, and you know, to add to that why, like you said, the game's limited. You got drugs, you got fraud, you got pimping, you got what else you got in the streets? You can rob people, right? You can kill for hire.
Yeah.
Still limited, and the money's limited.
Yeah.
In this world, man, I always tell the story about my college teammate. His family ran $1 million business selling the nets that go around hams. They didn't sell hams.
Sick.
They sold the nets.
Wow.
that you made that the companies bought to put their hams. So they just they had a factory that made ham nets and made millions of dollars.
Crazy.
Right? So what you can do in this world is everything's for sale.
And it's a global economy.
And you
can like, you could go around, like if there's somebody that's making like the little elastic bands you put on the top of the like the drug packages. He can't go around telling everybody.
I got this.
You know,
and now that's the next piece.
Right.
The risk.
Yeah.
Is so now you mess up in business. Okay, if some of our businesses fail, all right, we might lose money.
Yeah.
We lose time. We might owe some people. CRA might be on our ass. Whatever.
Yeah.
You mess up in the streets. You dead,
bro.
You know what I'm saying? You dead, or you done messed up and you're gone to jail, or your mess ups are a lot more detrimental.
Yeah. So,
you know, that risk is that risk worth it?
You can't afford to fail in the streets.
You know what I'm saying? Your failures
is a couple of fuck ups in the streets,
you're finito, right? And then the next piece I see as well is it's a small market, but a lot of niggas in the market, right? So you got a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Where, like I said, you Smooth Meal Prep. There's one other meal prep business in Halifax.
Yeah.
Where there's 2 houses in town. You go on Google and you type in meal prep, you're gonna find us or them.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. There's probably.
I ain't mad at them. Shout out to
Saute.
Those. You know what I mean? You don't hear the drug dealer telling the other guy. You ain't never.
Shout out to the homie over there down on the other block. You know what I'm saying?
Straight.
Taking my customers.
Exactly.
It's not how the shit go.
No.
Right. So you know, I think that's huge. And then, you know, my next question is, and again, we're talking transition from the streets to business.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Let's talk a bit about some of the transferable skills, right? I think some people might think it's so hard to do, but talk a bit about, you know, that homie that been buying the brick.
Mm-hmm.
How does that exist in this business, in the business world? And let's pull out some skills that transfer from the streets to entrepreneurship or business.
There's a bunch, bro.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole.
I mean, one, you made a key point earlier. Street business comes from business, right? So when you go back, Al Capone, then.
Yeah.
Okay. Liquor was legal. They made it illegal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we still gonna slang it and make it happen.
Yeah.
And we're running. They had real organizations.
Straight.
Pablo Escobar, real organization. He had COOs. He had vice presidents. He had managers and locations, and it was a real organization.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, on a lower level business, you know, like on a local level and shit like that, like there's just tons of there's just so many skills. Like, you understand marketing, you understand You understand logistics,
Mm-hmm.
like moving things around,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, if you in the like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, buying and selling.
Yep.
But like it's another stuff. Like I guess the re-up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like real. You could tell a good drug dealer and a bad drug dealer, like, because the good drug dealers, they always come with their money straight because they understand that flow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact word of it. And we go through this shit all the time. Like, you know, that's why university is so important, because you learn. I recommend any, you know, drug dealer, current or ex drug dealer, go to university, like, because you're going to learn terms for things that you used to do. And it's shrinking information, but that's a whole nother story. But I think, yeah, like there's tons of transferable skills. Communication, like, you know, like not emailing, but just talking to people and understanding people, those things. Inventory, right? Inventory management, like all that shit.
When am I getting low? Okay,
exactly.
Shit. When and seeing the future.
Yeah.
Okay, shit. Reading the markets. All right, well, COVID happens. Well, the bricks can't come in the same way. So
right.
that means the price. Man, I just had a conversation today with Leahy Glass, multi-million-dollar business. They've been around for 150 years. COVID happened. They were doing door-to-door, you know, come fix your glass or whatever.
Right.
COVID happened. They seen the shift of Sobeys and everyone needing the plexiglass.
Ooh.
So boom, here's what they did. Sick. They knew the demand was going through the roof. So, but they knew plexiglass would be limited here.
Right.
So these motherfuckers brought in a shit ton of plexiglass from wherever they did.
Crazy.
And just held it. Right?
Sick.
And everyone else using it up, running it up. So now they became the only people in all of Atlantic, Canada, or they might have been one or two, but they had the most of plexiglass. So now everyone's calling them.
Markers are.
Okay, here, well, here's the price.
Supply
and
and
we'll
demand.
come in. So their whole business shifted to going to Sobeys, going to these places, putting the plexiglass up, and they're the only ones that had it.
And then, like, because that's, like, big level shit. Because that's, like, people doing that shit in the streets, bro. Yeah. But then, like, on the lower, like, you know, like, the day-to-day dealer, like, you know what I mean? Like, they understand sales. Remember the dude that always call? We ain't going to say his name, but he always call. He always shows up. Like, this motherfucker don't quit.
Don't stop.
And so, like, you know, like the day-to-day small-time drug dealer, they understand that. Like, yo, if you phone stop ringing, right? Dudes know when the phone ain't blinging, the phone stop ringing. What do? You get off your ass and you go all through the little places that you know, and you start handing those samples and showing up, being present. You know what I mean? And like, and you understand markets, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing, because it's a service. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a service game, really. Like, even though you're selling a product, it's service, because there's so many people. Well, how do I differentiate myself?
And I think you really got to pay attention to the market. You got to pay attention to what's the brick prices right now. Because if the brick prices is this, well, I can't be selling 8 balls for this, because that changes. So, you know, in business, you got to watch the ticker. You know what I'm saying? You got it's a ticker, and the ticker in the streets, you got to call whoever got them. Okay, what are they going for? And understand that. That's big, though. Like, calling around, shopping around. Like, so I used to hate that shit. Like, I was never I'm a big loyalty guy. You know what I mean? The guy, he just buy the first, not the first, but
I'm just rocking with the people that I rock with. You know what I mean? And then, like, and in reverse, I like the people that rock with me on the regular. That was kind of my thing. Like, you know, loyalty was everything. But some people, they used to hit you up, you go talk to them, and then they tell you some shit, and then, like, you think this is a done deal, and then they don't call you for, like, another month. What happened to you last time? Like, yeah, man, I hit you up, but I had to go check homie over there, too. Like, but, yeah, we learned that shit. Remember, we started saying we got to get 3 quotes. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a transferable skill. You already understand it. Don't go with the first deal. It's negotiations. They understand how to negotiate. Right? So, I think it's so many things, you know, like, I think really anything you look at, anything you had to do transfers from marketing to getting your product out, relationships, trust, and I think, and like you said, in the streets, it's times 10. So it's 10 times more stress, 10 times more worry. In business, you can relax a little bit, and shit ain't as detrimental. So I think your skills really shine and can be really pulled out. So, you know, ultimately the conversation is, you can transfer over and really shine if you find that right niche, that right place where you need to be. But the two can really align. 100%. People involved in the sex industry, you know what I mean? Like, they understand service,
sales,
You know, like, I don't know, like someone said to me, this is crazy, but I'm gonna say it, but it is what it is. I was talking about like not buying cars and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, and somebody said to me, like, a car is a good tool if you know how to use it. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I'm like, yo, this nigga's like thinking like next level. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
he's thinking next level. Like, that's a next level thought. Like, you have the ability to think next level. You understand essentially your customer.
That's right.
You feel what I'm saying? So like, that's a transferable skill.
That's
you understand humans. Like, markets are people.
Understanding your customer, you know, and we do this. We make customer profiles. Right? We want to understand our customer to the T. Do they got a dog? Where they live? How do they like to live? Because we want to market to them. So you look at a stripper. All right, boom. She's coming on the floor. She got 4 or 5. She's stereotyping.
Right.
She's saying
straight.
He got money.
Yeah.
He don't got money.
Yeah.
Here's how I talk to him. He's right. And man, she done did that 100 times a night. Yeah. Right. So
characters.
You know what I'm saying? That skill transfers over to sales. Transfers over to, again, understanding customers. And in business, that's all we doing is understanding our customers and how do we solve their problems, which ultimately pays us. Yeah. Right.
Straight. Yeah,
you know, that's dope. And I mean, you know, lastly, we'll kind of sum it up. You know, we talk a lot about sustainability. You know, let's quickly just summarize that to say why you know, we got the how and the skills that transfer and why. But why is we always talk about sustainability in the streets. You know, it's not sustainable. It don't exist. You know, there's no pension, no pension. There's no, it can't last. You can't pass that down to your son. And let's chat a bit about that. And on the contrary, you know, why this option is more sustainable and, you know, makes more sense.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you talk about like this, like the whole idea of life is, well, to me, the whole idea of life is to pass life on. Yeah. So
I mean, scientifically, we're here to our Maslow's Hierarchy. First, procreate. Yeah. So reproduce and essentially sustain our species. Right. So we want to have kids and we want to be able to let them survive. Let them
continue to so we can stay at the top of this food chain as a human race. And so if that's the game that we're playing, you know, I say this all the time. I can't pass on a drug dealing empire to my children. I wouldn't want to. No. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't want to. Like, I really wouldn't want my children to experience the things that I had to experience in life because of my choices that I've made, because of the way that I used to get money. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's not sustainable. And at any given time, it could be ended. You know what I mean? Like, and so that alone is just, it's not going anywhere. No, sure. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, compared to Smooth Meal Prep, R&B Kitchen, you know, the B&B business, the Rental Link, any of these businesses, like, you know, literally if I died, once they are created, somebody else can take over. Yeah. You know what I mean? And in next level where we're trying to build to is to be able to, like, have businesses that are running themselves that we don't even talk to, touch to, nothing. We just kind of check up on them. And imagine passing that on to somebody else. Sure. Imagine giving somebody a guaranteed $20,000 a month. All they got to do is live.
Just live.
Right?
And they have the opportunity if they wanted to, you know, okay, you know, we look at my nieces and nephews, your daughter and now and kids, you know, okay, they work in the business now, right? But as we continue to build this business, one, you're going to just make money from being a part of the Wilson family, the Provo, the Beals family, right? Straight. That's what we want to create. You're going to be rich just off of that. But while going to school, you can go any direction you want. Engineering, marketing, sales, agriculture. There's a place for you in this business to come if you want to learn, to start off, if you want to intern, if you want to run it. Yeah. There's something that exists. Like I talked Leahy Glass. They were founded in 1882 from James F. Leahy. Passed it down to his kids. It ended up touching 3 different families. Like a cousin bought it and then another family bought it. But this nigga started in that time, and in 2021 his descendant from a descendant owns it and is growing it and making it happen.
Crazy that you're saying, because like in the black community, Leahy's a hood.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
Exactly.
Imagine homies out here repping a hood.
Repping a hood.
That some people is making millions of dollars off
of,
over
man.
the last 100 years.
Crazy.
We repping a street
Crazy.
that we have no ownership on.
No ownership, man.
You know what I'm saying? So that is that. If we say nothing else, that's the reason why we have to shift from the streets activities to the real world activities.
Right.
Leahy in the black community is a hood that there is zero ownership on.
All rentals.
Right? And so, you know, one of the things in the streets, because we talk about passing shit on, imagine being the right-hand lieutenant to, you know, Pablo Escobar or whatever. 'Cause they all got killed, so we'll go somewhere else. Like Frank Lucas.
Yeah.
Frank Lucas was Bumpy Johnson's right-hand man who then took over basically Bumpy's business. Bumpy couldn't pass it on to his children.
No.
Because opportunists.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, you gone? I know the routes. Them kids don't.
Straight.
I'm here. I'm
That's
in
mine
this.
now.
You know what I'm saying? And that's really how you look at new kings every day in the streets. Like there's tons of kings in the streets, but there ain't no king families.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't really know of like
No.
a family, especially in Canada, definitely. I don't even think North America, I go on the limb and say like kingpin families for 50 plus
generations.
years.
No, that don't exist.
I
Al
would,
Capone, them families is them kids doing whatever they doing.
Yeah.
They even still around.
you know what I mean? Like,
right?
and even like in all those like the mafia, the Italians, they
Even if you go to the over Mexico, the narcos,
yeah.
those are different name stakes that come about because,
Right.
like you said, El Chapo, he
Yeah.
was the little homie,
Yeah.
working for the big homie,
Yeah.
and matter of fact, I think he knocked him off.
Yeah, no,
He
straight.
knocked him off, and
Straight.
now I run the shit, right?
Yeah, you can't do that in real world
No,
business. Not
no,
like that.
No.
It's a different takeover. Like you need a
There's
lot
hostile
more
takeover, but
than
it's not
just that.
It's not.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
harder.
killed you and you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, no, man. I think to sum it up, that's it, right? That's a conversation. We really got to take our brains from what we value, how we see it, and it starts with the youth and a lot of work that needs to be done there. But yeah, the streets ain't sustainable. This world is a lot more sustainable. The transition is not as hard as we think, and we got to really put ourselves in those places to be here 100 years from now and to make our names be the names that is repping and our kids own the businesses and that step happen. Yeah.
And it ain't gonna be all of us.
No.
It ain't gonna be everybody,
No.
right? But if you somebody who's listening and you kind of on the fence between, you got a couple of dollars or you got an idea or you got that hustle in you, you know what I mean? You on the fence between, should I go and get a job or should I keep hustling or should I, spend this time trying to do this thing or should I, take my energy and opportunity, like take the energy and create an opportunity for myself in the real world. I think, I would tell you, had that leap of faith, the same way you had that leap of faith when you decided to pick up that drug or when you decided to get involved with that girl or when that girl, I'm talking to the ladies too, when you decided that you wanted to become a dancer or whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you decided and that's involved in the streets, you made a decision before, like you weren't born that way. Right. So don't be afraid to take that leap of faith on yourself because in the end, you want to create something. You want to be the first person to create something in your family that you can then pass on. Imagine in 100 years, you're going to still exist. They're going to still call you names all because of the decision that you were about to make. So, yeah.
Yes. That wraps it up. Much love. Another episode. Like I said, we're going to be dropping these weekly. You can tap in, follow us, grab us on Instagram at VellSmooth, at CBVelly on Instagram, YouTube. I'm a businessman. You can find our podcast anywhere where you get your podcasts.
Anywhere podcast is podding.
Where podcast
or
is
casting.
podcasting.
Anywhere podcast
you
is
can pod
casting.
with us. But another day, another dollar. Keep getting to the bag. Let's get it.